highlights the obvious signs of progress,
There are 132 more square miles.
telling a much bigger story.
Life Remodel is partnering with Detroiters to write their own stories, working with communities and organizations to create neighborhood revitalization that lasts.
We repurpose and transform vacant properties into one-stop hubs of opportunity where families can access the resources they need to thrive.
Whether it's after-school youth programs,
My tutor makes me feel so smart, and now I love to read.
workforce development,
I'm training right now for my dream job because I want my family to have a brighter future.
or health and wellness services,
I love that I can take my twin boys with autism just down the street to get the care they need and deserve.
we fill these spaces with the best and brightest nonprofits, and we help them create far greater life transformation together.
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 We believe the best stories are waiting to be told in neighborhoods like this.
Together. With you.
Okay, so that's kind of like an overview of what we do. Hold on, if I can get back here. Don't make fun of my desktop being very full of things. Nonprofit life. Come back.
Just at the top, Detroit Father Members, is that your presentation?
Yeah, and it's showing up here, but not. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so that video kind of shows you, but these are the four kind of main things that we do at Life Remodeled. So we do opportunity hubs, which is what you just saw in the last video. So we repurpose vacant school buildings, and then we turn them into one-stop hubs of opportunity for families to thrive. So we purchased, we kind of worked with DPSCD to acquire the old Durfee Elementary Middle School, which is in the Durfee neighborhood, if anybody's, it sounds like you're not familiar, but it is a very old, very large school building that we repurposed, and now there are 40 nonprofits that are all operating out of that building, and they're providing services to the community. We annually do a project called our 6-Day Project, which is where we mobilize thousands of volunteers over 6 days to clear blight in a specific Detroit neighborhood. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. We have a program called Next Level Nonprofit, which is kind of a new program for us, but it's basically an executive coaching program where we teach other nonprofits how to be effective and efficient in their work, because Life Remodel has grown really fast in the 13 or so years that we've been around. And then youth programming. So we do a lot of our own youth programming because we've seen a direct correlation between the success of the work in our opportunity hubs and neighborhood revitalization, and a direct connection between that and the work that goes on in the schools that are in the communities that we work in. So we're located right next to Durfee Elementary Middle School and then Central High School. So we work with the K through 12 students and the teachers and everyone next door to kind of grow our programs. So I have another video to show you. Now I'm like wondering if it's gonna play. So give me a sec here. But this is like what our 6-Day Project looks like. And this is the thing that most people know us for. So we'll see if this plays too. So that's what most people know us for, is our annual 6-day project. So prior to the pandemic, we bring together 10,000 volunteers over 6 days and clear blight in the neighborhood that we're working in. We worked in Cody, Osborne, and Denby prior to coming to Durfee, so maybe you might have heard some of those neighborhoods before. So we worked, in 2014 we were in Cody, and then Osborne, then Denby, and then we did 5 years in Durfee. We did 2 years in Cooley, and now we're going to be doing, we're going back to Denby next year. So that's sort of what we do. Now we have about 6,000 volunteers that come, just because a lot of our volunteers are corporations, and most people work from home now, and so there's not as many people in the office to volunteer. But that's our 6-day project, and that's what a lot of people have sort of heard of us before. So I've never done this presentation before, I kind of made it for this class, so we'll see how it goes, but I wanted to kind of focus on the data that we have surrounding all of those projects that we do, and kind of share with you how we use it, how we collect it, all that kind of stuff, but it also sort of tells you more about, you know, what we do as an organization. So I just kind of put this is more for me really, but you know, how do we use data? So we use it to tell our story, to show impact, to tell people about the work that we do. We use a lot of it to fundraise. A lot of data is important for telling people our story, but then also making that equate to dollars that keep us going. And then a lot of our data is used to inform strategy and plan future programming. So I sort of just screenshotted a bunch of infographics that we have, so it looks pretty, so hopefully that will keep you excited throughout this presentation. But then I also, you know, ask questions or whatever. But this is kind of our main impact, you know, statistics, especially as it relates to the 6-day project. So we've worked in 4 different schools, like I said, Cody, Osborne, Denby, and now Durfee. And then starting next year, we actually just purchased the old Dominican High School on the east side, which was the Wyden's Academy of Performing Arts. It's at like Whittier in 94, so that's the new building that we just bought, so we'll do that same thing that we did at Durfee at Dominican. So it will be 5 schools renovated shortly. We've invested $51 million, that's actual cash, and then also in-kind items, so that's like when we renovate buildings and people donate the lights for free, or they donate the concrete for the parking lot, things like that, right? So it's $51 million combined cash and materials. We've beautified 2,369 blocks since 2014, because that was the first year that we were in Detroit. We've engaged close to 82,000 volunteers, and we've boarded up 2,062 houses. I should preface with, prior to 2014, Life for Model worked in the suburbs. We were in Westland, Redford, kind of all over, but in 2014 is when we really found that the mission was to be in Detroit, working with Detroit Public Schools, and working with Detroiters, because that's where, you know, the need was most. So we renovated Cody High School. We put in a new football field at Cody High School. We renovated Osborne, put in a new basketball court. We also redid the roof at Osborne. And then at Denby, we put in a park across the street from Denby High School, as well as did a whole bunch of renovations in the school. And then Durfee was the first time we renovated a school building. Okay, so that 6-day project, we survey all of the folks who come to the 6-day project and ask them if they believe that their day of volunteering, if they experience a positive change in their thoughts or feelings about people of another race, religion, political perspective, or socioeconomic status. So this one's really important to us. 80% I always think is low. I think people should say 100, but I think that 80% of the people that come, I think sometimes they say, well, maybe I already felt this way, right? I already felt like I had positive feelings about people that were different than me, but 80% of people on our survey say that they have experienced a positive change because of the 6-day project. As you sort of saw in that video, the 6-day project brings together people from the city and the suburbs. It brings together people who are young and old and different religions and different socioeconomic statuses. It brings together all different types of people, right, in a situation where they maybe never have been in before, in a neighborhood they might not have ever been in before, to show them that we all are pretty much a lot more alike than we believe we are, and that our country is very divided, right, but when we work on a project like this together, we all are sort of the same. So that's sort of why we asked people that question, and it's something that informs the project every year. We know we're doing something right by bringing people together. The Detroit Police did a study 1 year after our project in, I think, Cody, and after the project, 1 year after, they found that crime dropped in 10 out of 11 categories, these 4 being some of the more significant ones. So that's, it's not necessarily just because of our project, but because of blight removal and because of community engagement, activism, and all of that, that kind of was jump-started as a result of us coming into Cody and organizing some work there, saw significant drop in crime, including almost 50% drop in homicides, which DPD told us was pretty cool. Okay, so some more data that helps us tell our story. This is our Durfee Innovation Society, like I said. That building has almost 40 tenants in the building, as you can see here, nearly 40. It's 100% occupied, so some of the tenants have more than one room, but if the whole building is full, about 430 people who work among all those tenants, including Life Remodeled, which has a staff of about, I don't know what we're at now, maybe 12. And then this is how many people we serve through those programs. So us, in partnership with those 40 tenants, everything from after-school tutoring and mentoring to workforce development programs where you can learn to, drive a forklift or get your certification in something related to IT, or health and wellness like behavioral health. Those are all the different things, and so we break it up like this. 3,400 kids are getting some sort of after-school educational program every year. 5,600 Detroiters have opportunities for new employment through those workforce development programs, and then 13,400 kids and families receive community resources, and that's kind of like the catch-all of, different programs. So we're serving about 22,000 Detroiters a year through our Durfee location, soon to be more when we open the location on the east side. Oops, already have that one. This is another kind of cool piece of data. So the way that we run the Durfee Innovation Society is we have those 40 tenants, we charge them all a below market value lease. So we're basically charging them what it costs us to run the building. So we're not really making any money off of this project, and so it costs about $1 million to run the building, and we get about $1 million a year in rent from the nonprofits. That's everything from, insurance to keeping the lights on and all of that, to maintenance, to the parking lot, to all of that kind of stuff. So we don't make any money off it. It's not super lucrative as some people would think. The work that we're doing, we're really doing it because it benefits the community and it keeps that building from sitting vacant in the center of a neighborhood. We also do a lot of surveys. So we survey the youth who come into the building, we survey the adults who come into the building, and we survey our tenants because we want to make sure that everybody is getting sort of, it's a community-centered space. It's not like our model's building, it belongs to the community. We just sort of help steward the building. So we surveyed the kids. Here's some of the stats that came out of their survey. 98% feel safe at the DIS, which I wish I would look this number up. I just thought about it now, but the number of kids who actually feel safe in DPSCD schools is like very low. Like in high school, it's something like 60% of kids feel safe every day. Elementary school, it's a little bit higher. Kids that come into the DIS are feeling safe, which is a really cool thing. We like to think that we built a good environment there. 96% of kids enjoy the programs at DIS. 98% feel like they will have a better future as a result of being enrolled in after-school programming. 94% believe that they have developed better social skills, 92% believe that their self-confidence has improved, and 100% feel like they have experienced positive interactions with adults at the DIS. So we're really proud of those stats because we really think that kids are kind of the main program area that we like to focus on. We really like the fact that we're located right next door to Durfee and Central, and all of our programming is, we really do put kids and kids programming first, so pretty proud of that. Here's a couple other stats. So during the pandemic, we directed $500,000 in COVID relief for the Detroiters. So we did tons of food drives, gift card giveaways, we did rent assistance, we gave out tons of free masks because we were kind of like a hub in the center of a community during a pretty terrible time. 72% of our tenant organizations are led by people of color. 72% of those organizations are also led by women, which is pretty cool and not the normal ways. 100% of DIS tenants agree that if space was available, they would likely be recommending to their peer organizations that they should leave space at the building. 94% of DIS tenants believe being located in the DIS has increased the impact of their mission and goals, and 100% of tenants believe that they have more access to collaborative opportunities with other organizations before they move into the DIS. Again, something that's really popular in nonprofit right now is collaborating. Making sure you're working together to serve the most people, and so that's something that happens a lot in our space. Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So I just showed you a bunch of stats that are kind of showing you what we do and telling our story, but I want to show you kind of how we use a lot of this data to fundraise, because this is sort of my area that I work in. I'm a fundraiser, and so these are sort of some of the data points that we use that we know from the city of Detroit and also from our work. So it's kind of helpful for us to show donors or people who are looking to get involved sort of, we say what we're up against, right? This is like what Detroiters are facing. This is what the people who we serve are dealing with every day, right? So 92% of third grade students in Detroit read below grade level. 30% of Detroiters cannot access the healthcare that they need. And Detroit residents' median household income is, let me make sure I get that right, 50% less than suburban residents, right? So that goes back all the way to the thing that we said in the beginning is why Life Remodel exists. Detroiters do not have access to the opportunities they need for no fault of their own, right? And we don't want to debate systemic racism here, but that's what Life Remodel believes, right? Is that Detroiters don't have opportunities because of historical factors, right? So here's a little, I just copied this out of a grant that I wrote, right? So I tried to sort of highlight the fact that here's all the data that we look up and we put in these grants that sort of helps build our case. So I could just say the residents who live around the DIS experience significant challenges, right? That'd be like one sentence and they would be like, how do you know that? So here's a long paragraph. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'll point out sort of the high points, right? So we talk about 48206, which is the zip code of the neighborhood that we're in. That area has crime rates 200% higher than the Michigan average. 7 out of 8 of the schools in that area are Title I eligible. 80% of the residents live in poverty. 96% of the residents identify as African American. The kids at Durfee and Central are performing in the bottom 5% of all public schools in the entire state. Prior to the pandemic, only 14% of Detroit students, public and charter, were reading at grade level, and only 1.2 of the kids next door at Durfee are reading at grade level prior to the pandemic. The statistics are worse now, I'm sure you all know this, right? Since the pandemic, all across CPSCD, kids are significantly challenged as a result of distance learning and all of that, right? So this is just like a sort of paints a much more terrible picture, right, of what's happening in the neighborhood, but it's something that then shows a funder, this is why we really need your support. We really need you to help fund our programs so that we can turn around and support this community with after-school programs and workforce development and health and wellness services, right? So it's just a little sampling there. And then this is a cool thing that we sort of just put together. So our new building on the east side, the Old Dominican High School, is in 48224. Anyone familiar with 48224? It's probably one of the most challenged, right along with 48206, probably one of the most challenged zip codes in the country, let alone, you know, the city of Detroit. So we did this little data project, I guess, to show what it looks like. We set a tale of two zip codes between 48224 and then 48236, which is the Grosse Points. You can walk basically across the street from where our new building is to Grosse Point, and we wanted to sort of show. So here it is on the map. That blue area is where our new building is, 48224 area, where we're gonna be serving, and then you've got the Grosse Points over there in that pink color. Put together this little graphic that shows all these different sort of statistics and how they shape up next to each other in terms of the kids that are in 48224 and the kids that are in 48236. So 95% of the kids in 48224 identify as Black or African American, compared to 12 in the Grosse Points. The median household income is about $37,000 compared to $120,000. In Grosse Point, 33% of the kids living in that zip code are living below the poverty line, compared to 5.7 in Grosse Point. 47% of children are living, oh, sorry, I did that backwards. Sorry, this is people and this is kids. So 33%, 47% are kids. 0% of students who live in 48224 are ready for college, basically, based on standardized testing, whereas you got 57% in 48236. 5.7% of third grade kids are proficient in English language arts, compared to 60%, and 68% of households in 48224 are receiving food assistance, whereas that's 3.2% in 236. 6.4% of people have no health insurance, compared to 2.5% and 12% of residents in 48224 have a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to 66% in 48236. So that's like pretty staggering, right? See the statistics between 48224 and 48236. But this is sort of our case to show why resources need to be pumped into 48224, maybe not so much into 48236, right? I got another video. I thought this would like be exciting. Now I'm nervous every time I try to play a video. But so we have this cool event that we do every year. This is sort of switching gears into fundraising, but so we have the data that shows why we need grants, why we need funding, why we need this stuff, this support for the work that we do in the building, and then we do fundraisers at Life Remodeled, right? Which every nonprofit does fundraisers, they do all these different things. We do a really cool one called Prom Remodeled, where we basically redo prom because we're in an old school building, and so we have people come in tuxedos and they bring limos, and it's so fun and it's so crazy. And if anybody wants to come volunteer, you might want to after you see this video. I will take you as a volunteer next year. But I want to show you sort of what the event looks like and then show you how we actually use data to inform the event and then get people to support it in the long run. And I really wish this would help this works again. Let's see.
What's good, y'all? It's your man Montel Jordan, and this is how we do it. Life Remodel, Prom Remodel, benefiting Detroit neighborhoods. Y'all know what it's about, neighborhood revitalization at last. And listen, we're providing access and opportunity to Detroit children and families, because this is how we do it. Let's go.
Hello everyone, I'm Robin Wilson, lead singer of Gym Blossom. We want to thank Life Remodeled for inviting us to this fantastic event, Prom Remodel, benefiting Detroit neighborhoods. Happy to be here. Peace and love to everyone.
So it's kind of a fun thing. We have 1,000 people that come to our building at Durfee, and it's a really cool party because it's a great mix of Detroiters and then also the business community. It's probably like the most diverse fundraising event you're ever going to go to, which I think is really cool. And it's something that showcases our building, shows off the work that we do, but then also, it's just a great fundraiser, brings people together. So in 2023, we made $529,000 at Prom Remodel. Pretty cool. We had 2 national music acts, Montel Jordan, who you saw, and the Gym Blossoms, who you saw. We had live entertainment in 3 different spaces in the building. We had 22 sponsors. We had 12 Taste of Detroit restaurant sponsors. So we had Detroit restaurants who donated food for free, put food all over the building. So we had like She-Wolf and Baobab Fair and Townhouse and a whole bunch of places bring food and set it up. We had 6 local Detroit music acts, so you saw the Detroit Youth Choir on there. We also had Mega 80s, which is a fun cover band out of the Ferndale area. We had 985 guests, I guess I rounded up to 1,000, and 93 volunteers who helped put it on, right? So this is sort of just how we use that data to show people that it's a pretty big deal, it's pretty cool, makes a lot of money, it brings a lot of people together, and that people should get more involved year after year, which when you use data like that, corporations like to sort of sponsor. This year, just if you want a teaser of who's gonna be at Prom Remodeled, not cool, so hold on, it's Tone Loc. It's all 90s hip hop. You guys know Tone Loc, he sings Funky Cold Medina and Wild Thing, yeah. So Tone Loc will be there. So will Rob Bass. So It Takes Two, Rob Bass. And then the third one is Tretch from Naughty by Nature.
Oh my
so,
God.
I know. Okay. If you guys want to come volunteer, you get to meet. If you're a volunteer, you can come meet them all. Montel Jordan was hanging out with all of our volunteers last year. I know. So I'll give you my email if you guys want to come volunteer. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And you can volunteer for the first half and then stay for the concert. So. So that's just like a cool way that we use data. A lot of nonprofits, they might not do something like this. but how do you kind of explain to somebody the magnitude of an event or how successful it has been without showing them, you know, pieces of information that sort of proves it? You can take my word for it, but this kind of shows them that like 985 other people agreed that it was a good cause. So here's sort of one of my last slides. I can try to talk fast. So this is how we sort of use data for program planning, right? So right now we don't have our building open, our new building, Dominican, over on the east side. But we are trying to raise $14.5 million to renovate the building. It's a big project. It's called the Capital Campaign, for anyone who doesn't, you know, necessarily super familiar with fundraising, which is most people. So Capital Campaign, $14.5 million. And we basically have to get people to give us money based on a project that doesn't exist yet, right? We need to build the building, we need to renovate the building. And so what we're doing is we're using data from what we've done at Durfee, and other data based on who we think potential tenants might be, what the population is over on the east side in the area that we're gonna be serving. And that's how we sort of have determined a lot of this information about, you know, how successful the building will be over there so that we can ask people to fund the project, right? So we're projecting that we're gonna serve 2,300 kids through youth programming, 2,100 individuals through workforce development or new employment, 11,000 through access to health and wellness, and 2,500 through the basic community resources. The residents over on the east side, specifically in this Whittier corridor, they really want the Whittier corridor to be focused on arts and tech and sort of be a hub for the city in arts and tech. And so that's something, since we're gonna be on Whittier, this building is gonna hopefully be a hub for that, because what Life Remodel does, we always put the voice of the community first. We never decide what we're gonna do and just kind of come in and do it. We ask residents what they want and then we do it. So the residents have said this is what they want, plus arts and tech. So we're assuming we're gonna serve, you know, that many people, but we'll see. Oh yeah, I put this in here really quick because I thought it was cool. This is some outside data. They actually just announced this past year at the Mackinac Policy Conference, if anybody's familiar with that. But Gallup just did a survey of 12,000 Detroit residents, and they determined that there are 3 neighborhoods with the highest perception of thriving opportunities, and one of them is the Durfee community, which we thought was pretty cool. I can't remember the other 2, and I can send you guys the link to this whole report, because it's actually really interesting. But the main thing that the community members said that sort of defines what thriving is access to opportunities. And so members of the Durfee community, which, and also, I should have said this in the beginning, if you don't know where Durfee is, it's Dexter Linwood. So, I was gonna say, if you're not, that's where it is. I know, I was like, I should have said that from the beginning. So Durfee is Dexter Linwood. So for residents that live in Dexter Linwood, now you might be more familiar, there's not tons of opportunity over there, right? If you've driven down Dexter or Linwood lately, you've seen that there's a lot of closed up shops. And like you saw in that paragraph, the schools are not thriving the way that they should, right? But Durfee residents have the perception that they have the second highest perception of thriving in the city of Detroit. So I think that's just a testament to the fact that over the last 5 or so years that Life Remodel has been there, but also all the other community groups that have now been able to come together as a result of this hub that we have in the neighborhood. Residents feel like they have this perception of hope for the future and perception of thriving, and hopefully that continues to happen in neighborhoods that are outside of the downtown, midtown, Corktown sort of area, right? So I'll send you guys that because it's actually really interesting, all the data that they put together about Detroit neighborhoods, and the fact that Durfee got a little shout out in there is pretty cool, if you ask me. So last slide I have here, and I just blew through that stuff, so if you have questions, let me know. But I put my contact in here if you want to volunteer at prom, or if you guys want to come to our 6-day project, because we have, like I said, 5,000, 6,000 volunteers that come to that. It's Monday through Saturday, a lot of school groups, a lot of college students come as classes or as groups or whatever throughout the week or on Saturday. That's my phone number. You can text it or call it. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn. Oh, liferemodel.org. That's old. But so Brooke at liferemodel.org. Yeah. I hope that's what you were looking for. I kind of put that together kind of fast, but anybody have any questions or thoughts?